Welcome along and welcome to any viewers of the first tutorial that I put together showing you how we made this BMW M1 Pro Car design. And I had suggested that I could make a follow-up video showing you how you could make sections of the car show up as chrome. So Matt, some raises arms, he said, yes, please. I would love that additional video. So that's what we're going to dive into next. So stay tuned. To get started, we're going to have to decide what we want to have appear as chrome on the car. And what I decided to go with was the lines down each side and the 3 lines at the back. Currently, all of those lines and the rest of the logos are in our sticker folder here, which we've locked. We don't want to affect this at all. We want to keep this the same and not make any changes to this. So we've locked that layer. But what we want to do is duplicate this group so that we can work with a copy of it, and we'll call it Fresnel. Okay, now we have this grouping here called Fresnel, and we want to work with some of the items in here. What we want to end up having is just the lines turned into a black layer on its own. Anything that is black in the Fresnel layer will be chrome, and anything that is white will be not chrome. I know that sounds a little bit reverse, but that's how it works. Okay, let's work on making a layer with just the lines that are in black. That'll be our first step. So I'm going to click on the lines and it takes me to that. You may have to change whether you're selecting a group or layer in your auto select and actually have auto select selected. Just to make sure you do that. Otherwise you'll maybe have some frustration. This is the way I like to work. It may be different for you. All right, now we have the lines here. We can see them. What we want to do is control click this and get them selected. Now what we'll do is make a new layer here, but move this up higher. Let's get this way up here outside of our backup folder here. Okay, so now we have layer 75. Let's call it our chrome. And let's fill that in with black. Perfect. All right, step 1 is done. This is great, but there is a little bit of a problem with this. As you can see, anything that is black will become chrome. But if we hide this layer, underneath you'll see we have some stickers on top of the pink, and we have the number plate here also half covered by what will be our new chrome layer. We don't want any of those stickers or half the number plate to be shown as a chrome texture. So we need to find some way to cut out those parts of the black section and convert them to white so that they do not reflect any chrome. To do this, what I'm going to do is deselect everything and go back into our original backup Fresnel layer here and down to these lines that we originally control clicked and created our new chrome layer up higher. Let's get rid of these lines. And what we're going to do is take this Fresnel layer and we're going to merge it. So now we have a flattened image here with every other sticker on the car, but it does not have our lines on it that we want to turn chrome. Let's move this sticker layer here. Let's call it stickers. And we'll be really specific here, non-chrome. And let's move it above the chrome layer here. And as you can see, everything shows up. Now you don't see the darker logo stickers here because they're just kind of blending in with our new black layer that's going to come through as chrome. So let's just control click this And you can see it's outlined everything else on the layer. Let's now fill this in with white. And we'll do Control D or use this toolbar here and hit deselect. Okay, great. We have white, everything we don't want to be chrome, black, everything we do want to be chrome, but we don't have anything going on in the full background here of the document. This will cause you problems if you try to use this as the DDS file for your Fresnel layer. What we want to do is create a solid color background in white for the rest of the document and put it underneath our Chrome layer. Let's make a folder for the Fresnel layer now and put everything in there that we're going to want to keep for that specifically. There we go. We can hide any other layers. And we are ready at this point to export our DDS file for our Fresnel layer. We just have to remember what our file name was for that. Let's go to our overrides folder, back into our Procar, check out our notepad file and find that. Here it is, body60_Fresnel. This has been here the entire time, but the game was ignoring it because we didn't have the artwork yet. So we'll just copy this, move that out of the way, and save our DDS file. Paste our name here, save. It's going to ask us for what compression we want to use. We're going to use the same as we did for the body DDS file, and that is BC1 or DXT1. There we go. Now we're ready to jump over to AMS2 and see if this had any effect on our livery. Okay, we're in the showroom. We're checking out the livery now, and as you can see, we definitely have a chrome appearance to our stripes on the car. We also still have some reflective property to the rest of the stickers on the car that we didn't want to be matte, but at the same time, they're not chrome in appearance, which is important. Only the lines on the car are appearing in chrome. Now, the color of the chrome, and apologies for my computer running a bit choppy here. It's an older computer I'm doing the tutorial with here, but we will need to adapt our spec layer at this point to provide the type of color that we want to reflect off of the car. So this is going to be a bit of a fun part, and you can really get into trying all kinds of different combinations. And I've spent several hours playing with color combinations with the spec lighting and the chrome layers. So let's get started with that. Now that we've saved our new Fresnel file, we need to create a new spec file that will determine the type of light that is hitting the different parts of the car. So we have three different areas we want to concentrate on. One is our stripes that are in chrome. The second is the stickers on top of that and on top of the car. And the third is the whole body paint color as well. So what we need to do is create a new spec file. Let's make a new folder and create a folder for our new spec file. It's going to be a little bit more complex than the flattened spec file that we used on the original tutorial that I did. Okay, so we're going to put a couple of layers into the spec folder here. We're going to grab them from two places. We're going to grab our lines that are now chrome on the car. They're here. We're going to duplicate this, and we'll call it spec lines. Doesn't matter what we call it. We just need a copy of it, and we're going to move it up, and we'll put it in our spec folder here. The other bit we need is the background color of the car, the body paint. So let's duplicate this, and we'll call it the spec body. Okay, let's move that one up as well. Put that in our spec folder, and we'll put it underneath our spec lines. All right, now we have a new spec folder here with some items in it. We don't need to see the Fresnel layer. We don't need to see the body paint. We're just going to work with this. As for our original spec layer here that was for our more simplified livery, let's just create a folder for that. We'll call it original spec. And we'll put that in here. We will lock that and hide that. The other element that we have are the stickers that are on the car, but we don't need to do anything to the lighting for them. They are just going to take straight plain lighting, and everything will be controlled by the alpha channel over here for that. So that's fine. What we do need to do though is lighten the colors of these two items here, the body and the spec lines. So what I'm going to do is add an adjustment layer up here for brightness. And I'm going to create a clipping mask so that this adjustment layer only affects the layer directly below it. Okay, what we're going to do is brighten that up a little bit. That'll be all right. Don't be too concerned about what the color looks like to your eyes here. It's not necessarily what's going to be shown when you see the livery. That's why you end up playing with this quite a bit, because you adjust the kind of brightness of the light that you're using, and it really has a dramatic effect on the result in the game. So we'll see what this turns out to be looking like when we get to the game. Now let's do the same for the body. Let's see if we can duplicate this adjustment layer and move it down on top of the body. Okay, it did brighten it a bit. Let's brighten that up even more. Okay, so we've lightened up. Actually, I want to make sure this is a clipping mask as well, so it's only affecting this layer. Okay, great. So what you see now is kind of a brightened version of the spec lines and the body paint. We're ready at this point to save our DDS file. So to do that, what we want to do is go over to our channels and check out that our alpha channel is also ticked off. Okay. Now, we don't want any other layers to be shown. So that's fine. They're not. Go back here, make sure this is enabled. And we're ready to export. So let's save our file as a DDS. It's going to be our new spec layer. Let's rename this one _back, just in case we want to reverse course. And then we will save this as our new one. It's going to prompt us for our compression, and we want to use the alpha channel. So BC3 or DXT5. All right, saved. Okay, we've opened up AMS2 to check out what our new spec layer DDS file has done to the car, and I'm liking the effects so far. What I don't particularly like is the body color and what it's done to that. So we're going to go back into Photoshop and do something to change that. And I might lighten up the color on the lines too a little bit, just to see what happens. But we'll play around a little bit and see if we can get the effect we want. All right, what I found in the showroom was that everything was a bit too dark. So if you can imagine this as lighting, you want to brighten the colors up here quite a bit so that we don't get that dark effect that we saw. So what we're going to do is go to the adjustment layer for the spec lines here, and we're going to crank this up to 150. That's as bright as we can go with that adjustment layer. If we want to make it any brighter, we'll have to do another technique, but that's what we'll do for that. And for the body, what we're going to do is actually delete this adjustment layer and instead just change the color of this directly. And let's just go right up to something way brighter. Don't be too concerned about what this looks like here. It only represents the light that will reflect off the car, so it'll look completely different in the showroom. Let's save our new spec file again. Save as copy, DDS, spec, and use the DXT5 that supports alpha. And there we go. Let's jump over to AMS2 and see what effect the change of the spec lines and spec body had on our design. And here we are back in the showroom. And as you can see, the result is much nicer. We have that matte navy blue back that we had from the original livery. So that is looking great. And we've got a nice pink chrome color going on with the lines that go up and down the side of the car. So it's looking much nicer now. Let's take a look back at Photoshop and then the folder of documents that it took to get us to this point, and we'll wrap up the video. Okay, we've jumped back over into Photoshop and we're just going to save our file, obviously our source PSD file here, and we'll store that somewhere in the cloud later on or somewhere safe. We won't keep it in the same overrides folder that we've had it in for now. We just do that to speed up our workflow a little bit. Having things in the same folder is helpful. So we will move that out into another place. What we will have to do is create our new preview shot, which I'm not looking forward to, honestly. I'll need a few cups of coffee before I get started on that. But I don't think I need to include it again on this video. You can go back to the other video to see how I created that. But there you have it. We have a body file, a Fresnel file now. The black and white is crucial. The black being anything you want to be chrome, and everything else is white that you don't want to be chrome. Then we have a new spec layer, which includes some color and lighting effects, which play along with the Fresnel layer to create that really special pink color we saw there on the car. And we have our backup original spec file, which I'll probably save alongside this Photoshop doc somewhere else. Okay, one additional follow-up bit to the video here I wanted to include. It's helpful sometimes at the end of your design, when you're happy with your entire livery design, to put a couple of adjustment layers, if you have Photoshop, to put some adjustment layers on top of the entire car. And obviously hide your other folders we don't need that were for the other files for the spec and the Fresnel layers, but activate your stickers and body paint and throw a couple of adjustment layers up here. One of them is for the levels, and you can limit the level of white that is used on your car. So I sometimes bring that down to like 215 because the game is quite a bit brighter, and I know in the past it was recommended to do this for any liveries you designed in rFactor 2. So that may not be the same for AMS2. I'm not sure, but I'm going to test it out and just see if I like the appearance of this, just reducing that. And the other adjustment layer is the brightness, where I've just increased it. Well, it's brightness and contrast, and I've just increased the contrast slightly on this. So you can see the adjustment layer. Playing with it, you can really get rid of the contrast, or you can boost it just a little bit. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to now save my body DDS file again. Choosing the BC1 DXT1. And I'll go check that out in the showroom and see if I like the look of it, and kind of play with that back and forth until I'm happy. All right, that was just a little bonus thing I wanted to mention. All right, so all that's left is to say thanks and leave comments below if you have any tips or suggestions. Again, if you have any questions, reach out and either me or maybe someone else in the community can help you out. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.